last episode of my reviewing my whole eyeshadow palette collection series, and I'm actually really gutted. I've really loved doing this series, and I was inspired by HaileyO, who also does this series on her channel. I will leave her link down below, but she basically goes through her entire eyeshadow palette collection, palette by palette, writes down her little review of it, and I just got inspired. There is so many instances here on my channel where I roll something into a project pan and it's an old product. It's not like it's a brand new product to me, and I just don't know how it works. I don't know what I feel about it. I don't know if I like it. I don't know if I don't like it. And this series has really helped me understand my makeup collection and figure out what I like, what I don't like, what palettes are maybe staying in a future declutter, and what palettes are leaving. And today, as I said, it's the last little episode, and I am going to be going through all of my Colourpop palettes today. Now, Colourpop has their own video. I have a lot of Colourpop palettes. They are all 9-pan palettes, and I'm so excited to share my thoughts with you guys. But just before we do jump into the video, if you have not already, like and subscribe. I upload every single day here on my YouTube channel. I love bright, fun, colourful makeup. I love project panning and get ready with me's. I have actually filmed this look. It is absolutely stunning. It would have been maybe the last video live. I got a massive new haul from BeautyBay, and I just wanted to do a big ol' first impressions with it. So this is that look. I will of course leave it linked in the cards if you were interested in that. Okay, so I've got a big old stack of palettes here. I have most of the monochromatic palettes, and I'm just ready to go. So of course my taste might be a little bit different to your taste. That's fine, we're all friends here. But let's start with the main squeeze palette. Now, something I will say for all of these palettes, the packaging just rubs off so bad, so I really need to do something about that. All of these plasticky packaging, they're gonna come off. It's pretty easy to rub all the writing off, unfortunately, but this is what this palette looks like. And I actually really like red on my eyes. I have very blue eyes, and I feel like wearing red really makes it pop. However, I don't often wear red. I need a push to wear red. It is not a colour that I would just think of wearing on my own. So unfortunately, this does get a little bit neglected. Now, I do have a pan here on red bottoms. I do love depths in my eye looks. Even though I'm wearing a very light eye look today, I do like a lot of depths normally. I do feel like It's Hot and Home Slice, these two shades are very similar. That is kind of to be expected in a red palette. I do feel like, I mean, these two, like, spot the difference. One is slightly pinkier and one is slightly redder, but I mean, you're not going to be able to tell on the eyes at all. So as always with these videos, I have ranked all of these palettes. They are either a green palette, meaning I absolutely love them, an amber palette, meaning they're okay, or a red palette, meaning next declutter and they're gone, baby. And this I have actually ranked a green palette, but it is just scraped through because when I use this and when I push myself to use this, I really do enjoy it. So what have I written in my little write-up? Let's see. So I've put red goes really well with my blue eyes, just like I said. I love how the light red shades aren't just pinks. That is a massive thing for me, okay? I'm not a pink girl. I really don't like wearing pink eyeshadow. I will if I must. I am doing a Pan That Palette series, and a few of those shades are pinks, so I will wear pink. However, it's not something that I'm jumping for joy at wearing, and something that annoys me so much is when I'm doing a red look and I put on that last transition shade and it just turns pink. It annoys me so bad. These are true reds. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. Good brownie points there. I love the pop of duochrome in this palette, which is another bonus. There aren't often duochromes in these kind of palettes, but this shade here, Juicy Fruit, is this kind of gold to red shifting shade. It does add something a little bit different to this palette, which is really, really nice. And it also just adds like some contrast and also some brightness as well. I really do like this pop. It doesn't often go on my eyes, but like aesthetically, very pleasing. Love that. I'm really sad that this palette is so neglected, but that is probably because of the Modern Renaissance. If you know my Pan That Palette series, I am working on a red right now in that palette, and it just kind of overthrows this. However, this probably could be a companion palette to Red Ochre. I feel like if I give a month to Red Ochre, really push myself to use that as much as possible, and also have this in there as well to really boost that, I think that would be a really good idea. And then at the end, I've put a few duplicate shades, but that is to be expected with a monochrome palette. So overall, I do like this palette. I would like to use it more, but I mean, I say that about everything. That is something that I'm really struggling with right now when it comes to project panning. I feel like I don't have a choice really in what I'm wearing on my eyes. It is getting a little bit difficult to kind of juggle all of my project pans and also my main collection, because a lot of the time these just sit in my collection and do not get used. So that's definitely something that I'm gonna have to think about. Okay, so let's move on. I'm gonna do this in rainbow order, of course. So this is the Orange You Glad palette, and as you can see, this writing is semi-intact, and that is because I never use this palette. This is what it looks like inside. It's pretty much brand new, and that is because I've learned that I either do color, like bright blue color like I'm wearing today, or neutral. This is like a colorful neutral, and I don't wear those shades. I have learned over the past few months, I don't wear colorful neutrals. It's one extreme or the other. This also really clashes with Realgar in my Pan That palette, which is a bright orange. Well, it's not necessarily bright. It's kind of like a mix of these two shades at the bottom here. But again, it could be one of those instances where I put this palette in as a focus palette to help me get more use on Realgar. That could be interesting because right now in my Pan That palette, I only have 4 shades and it gets a little bit stale. It does really get a bit stale just trying to find looks with those 4 shades. So who knows? Maybe I will be rolling some of these in to help me with that project. So in true orange fashion, this I have ranked as an amber palette just because I don't use this. There are no dips in this really. I've got some usage in them, but it's nothing crazy. And considering I've had this palette since I had this palette when I graduated high school, and I've graduated university now. I've had this for so long and it barely looks touched. So what have I said? I love how this palette looks, but I never wear true oranges. If I'm in the mood, I'll just pull a neutral palette. Maybe after Realgar is done, it will inspire me to pull this out more. Maybe because I am working so hard on an orange, I just don't want to work on these ones either. Maybe, but I doubt that. I'm not keen on the pressed glitter, but it's not a deal breaker. Yeah, this pressed glitter, it's fine. I know a lot of people don't like the Colourpop pressed glitter formula, or pressed glitters in general, which yeah, I'm the same. If I'm buying an eyeshadow palette, I'd rather just buy an eyeshadow palette. I'd rather not have pressed glitters, but hey, it is what it is. It's fine. It's just a little too close to being a neutral palette for me. I either go neutral or colourful, not in between. So yeah, it works nice. The formula of all of these are so nice and so beautiful, even now, like 5 years on, but it's just the colour preference. I did get all of the like generic rainbow colors in a set, so I didn't necessarily like pick this one out. I think if I'd have picked them out, I probably wouldn't have bought this one, just because again, it's just a bit too neutral. I do wear a lot of neutrals, but if I'm gonna wear neutrals, it's gonna be cool tone neutrals. I'm not a massive fan of these super warm tone neutrals. It just doesn't work for me. So yeah, maybe that's another reason as well. All right, let's move on to our next palette, which of course is the Aha Honey palette. This is what this palette looks like, and as you can see, there is a lot more use in this palette. I have pan on Palooza, which is the pressed glitter, and also on Sunburst as well. So I have ranked this a green palette, and that is because I love using yellow as a pop in other looks. I feel like yellow goes with any eyeshadow color ever, and this is the perfect yellow pop palette. I've got pops of mattes, I've got pops of shimmers, I've got darker, I've got grungier, I've got brighter, more saturated. However, I would not use this palette as a one and done palette, probably. It is a little bit light for me. Like I said before, I do like a lot of depth. This shade is the deeper shade in the palette, and for me, this is still quite a light shade. I don't know though, now that the weather is getting a little bit warmer, I am doing more of these kinds of looks, which are definitely more light, more airy. So maybe in the summer, this could be pulled in. I might pull it into a No Pan Left Behind or something like that, just to get some use out of it, because these pops are really beautiful. I definitely need to remember that this exists. That is such a bad thing that I do. I always forget all my palettes exist and then they just sit in my drawers, which is not good. But what have I said about this? I love using yellow as a pop in any look, and this palette lets me do that. I like the darker mustard yellow for something a little bit different, and also the yellow to blue duochrome. This shade is an unspoken hero, I think. This is Sunburst, and it is one of the shades that I have pan on, and it has almost like a bluey shift in it. You're definitely not going to be able to see it on camera, but this is such a pretty shade. It is something very, very different, and I haven't actually seen it in any other palette. It is this like yellow base, very, very strong yellow base, but there's just a little bit of that blue hint in it, and honestly, I love this. I love doing blue eyeshadow. As you can probably tell, blue is my happy color. Blue is my favorite eyeshadow color to wear. And because this has that blue hint in it, it makes it so easy to pair with blues. So of course, that is a massive reason I have pan on this. I love that shade so much, but I definitely need to play around with the other shades a little bit more, I think. I've put, again, I'm not a fan of the pressed glitter, but it's whatever. I rarely use this as a standalone palette, but a 10 out of 10 as a companion. 100%, I do like this palette, maybe not for a full look, but this goes with pretty much anything, and I absolutely love that. What is your favorite Colourpop palette? That's something I want to ask just before I move on. You will definitely see what my favorite Colourpop palette is in a little while, but I'm just curious, what is something that you think I would love? Or maybe you wouldn't think I'd love it. Maybe you love the pink palette, and then I'll be like, you can love that. I'm not going to be trying that. Okay, next is the Just My Luck palette, and this again is pretty intact, which means I've barely used this. To be fair though, I do have two pans in this palette. I have a pan in Mary Jane, which is this beautiful chartreuse shade, and I also have pan in Charmed, which is this more grungy, olivey, dark matte. I do really, really like those two shades. However, I very rarely wear green. I feel like I just forget green exists, and I don't really have green in any of my other palettes, really. Green isn't a colour that I see much in makeup. Maybe I'm just not looking in the right places, but I just forget that green exists. So this palette definitely has been very neglected. These two shades were in my Pan Those Eyeshadows series, so it's not organic use. However, Mary Jane is stunning. It's one of those, it's very similar to the yellows. It can be used as a pop in pretty much any kind of look, and I love that. I think it's beautiful. So I've put green is probably my least used color, and I'm not sure why. Like I said, it's probably because I'm not used to wearing green eyeshadow, because I'm looking in my drawers. I've got the Subculture, which is kind of green. I've got my Wilderness, which is kind of green. And that's kind of it. I don't really wear green eyeshadow much. I don't feel it's very common. I don't know, maybe I'm just delusional. I really do like this colour story, but I just don't find myself reaching for it. I love the different undertones, and yeah, I love the fact that there are like true greens. There's a nice chartreuse, and there are these two olivey greens as well. I find that a lot with these Colourpop monochromatic palettes. Even though they are monochromatic, they do have the different undertones, the different depths, and that is something that I love. I really can't stand palettes, even if it's like a colourful palette, but if they have the same amount of depth, No, what am I gonna do with that? Not a chance. I put Mary Jane is the perfect pop color, just like I said. I do love that. It did not take me long to hit pan on that shade at all. I like the olive undertones, but the other true green shades just don't speak to me at all. Yeah, they don't. It's like this C. This whole C section, not this olive, because I love that. But the outside shades are just a little bit, I find them quite intimidating, to be honest, because I don't know, I guess I'm just not used to greens. If you see some really nice green eyeshadow looks, tag me in them on Instagram, because I need to have some inspiration, I think, because these greens are just not used. I'm looking at them in the pan, and this one especially, Act Natural, doesn't even have any brush strokes in it. I think I've used it like once, but other than that, not at all. I put maybe I just need to focus on this palette and try and get a better understanding of it. Maybe I do. I have ranked this an amber palette. I couldn't rank it red because I do like it. It's just I never use it. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, I just don't use it. It's nice. I like it. I think it's valuable in my collection. But other than that, I just don't reach for it. Which is really sad. It is really sad. I don't like it when my makeup is completely brand new. That is why I love project panning so much. I know a lot of people want to have this pristine makeup collection. I'm the opposite. I want my makeup to look absolutely battered and bruised. So that makes me sad. Next, kind of greens, but not greens. This is the High Tide palette. And this is the opposite. This is the opposite. There's no pans in this, but hopefully you can see I do have a lot of use in all of these shades, especially this shade Luna. I really want to have a lot of pans in this palette very soon. I just really love teal. It's really strange because teal and green really aren't that different. But this palette, I love. I really love this palette. It makes me so happy, and you're not going to be surprised to learn I have ranked this a green palette. Blue and teal have my heart, and this is actually what I started this little note section with. I thought Colourpop, you need to have a teal monochrome palette. Like 2 years before this even came out, I was waiting for this for so long, and here it is. I obviously had to buy it. I got it gifted for me for Christmas one year, I think. Christmas or my birthday. And I'm just so happy that I have it. So what have I said? I wanted a teal monochrome palette for years before this was released. Not to brag, but I mean, I've clearly got some good ideas. I've put these kind of shades are right up my street, and I always love working on this palette in project pans. It was in a project 10 uses not too long ago, and I just absolutely loved it. You can see my nails kind of match it today. I love teal and blue. In summer, in winter, I just think it looks perfect all year round, and I really do want a pan in this palette very soon. I love the mix of cool and warm teals, which is amazing. All of this row is more like cool, grungy winter teals, and then the other two rows remind me of like more summery, bright teals. And that mix is amazing. Again, even though they're monochromatic palettes, they do have some range. And I think that's why this series has been so successful for Colourpop, because it's not just one type of teal. There are so many different types of teal, and that makes me so happy. I have said Muscle Beach, I'm not a fan of. I really don't like these like super dark teal to browny kind of shades. I just think it looks a bit like muck. I don't know. Maybe I could wear it as a liner in one look, but it's not really a duochrome. I mean, it is a little bit, but I feel like the brown flip in these shades just makes it look dirty. It makes it look patchy. I don't like those shades. So that's definitely my least favorite shade in this palette, but other than that, I love it. Green palette all the way. Can you read what this says? Can anyone? There's a B and then there's an N maybe? Yeah, this is beaten and bruised, and you know why. You know why. I'm not even gonna build the suspense. This is a green palette. I have rated this green, 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 green. I love this palette so much. I love blue. This is what really started my blue eyeshadow obsession. I just think it's perfect. I do. I just think it's perfect. I do think that Starry Eyed and Moonlight are a little bit close together. Starry Eyed is slightly darker, but you will not see that on the lid at all. I think maybe if one of them was like a super light blue shimmer, this palette would be just perfect for me. It already is perfect for me, but just that little bit extra perfect. You can see I have a pretty big pan on Clued In, and again, I love my depth, so that is not a surprise at all. I did have a pan on Lumi, but I had to repress it because it literally fell out of the pan. Like, the pan didn't come out, the whole eyeshadow came out. So I lost a pan there, but that's fine. I love this palette so much that I'm going to be naming my future dog Lumi in remembrance of this shade. I just think it is beautiful. I think it's the most stunning shade. Even years later, it still holds up. It's one of those white to blue opalescent kind of shades. It is just beautiful. I've been obsessed with this palette for years and I do not plan on stopping. So I put such a stunner. I'm so attached to this palette. One of my favorites. Then I said I want to name my dog Bloomy because I love this shade so much. I've had this palette for years and I still smile every time I open it. Yeah, it just makes me so happy. And I just can't stop smiling. I love it. I would bathe in this palette. I would wear this every day if I wasn't scared of wearing blue every day out in public. I am going to have to go to Aldi in a minute, rocking my blue, but I feel like it's a wearable blue today. Blue is my happy color. I've said this so many times. If I'm happy, I'll wear blue. If I need a pick-me-up, I'll wear blue. I'm wearing a blue top today. I just love blue so much. And this, it does genuinely make me so happy. And hopefully I can get a lot more pans in this in the future. I can imagine this palette with pan on every single shade in the future. The perfect blue palette. I would honestly recommend everyone trying blue eyeshadow at least once in their life. I know people are very, very scared of blue eyeshadow, but honestly, just try it once. Just try it one time, just before you're about to take a shower or something like that. If you've got a random palette with like loads of colours, you know the ones we all had as kids. If you have one of those kicking around, just put a blue on your eye. And I think you'll love it. I'm not biased or anything, but I really think you'll love it. So I'm gonna have to pry that out my hands and move on to the next palette. All right, so sticking with the blue theme, kind of, this is the Colourpop Elsa palette. And I think this is the only palette that isn't monochrome, which is interesting, but this is what it looks like inside. And as you can see, it is a mix of blue and kind of neutrally pinky shades. Now, I have mixed feelings about this. I have ranked this amber palette. I do like it, but it is not my favourite whatsoever. So I think I saw blue and had tunnel vision when I bought this palette, and that is, yeah, that's definitely correct. This blue, I saw it and I was like, it's a blue palette. I gotta buy it. No. I do like the shades in this. I like the color story. However, these two shades are very, very similar on the eye. Sundrift just has those really annoying shimmers in it. And then Awakened is just the matte version of it. Both of these did not have to be in this palette. I guess one's a little bit lighter. I guess it does swatch very differently. Maybe I was just being a bit antsy on that one. I will take responsibility on that. I think I was just being a bit dodgy there. But I mean, these like mattes with shimmer in it, I don't like them at the best of times. I don't know, there's no point. Just give me a matte. Just give me a matte. I really don't care. The shimmers in this are really, really beautiful. This shade Northern Lights is like just the Northern Lights. It's like a mauve with some green in it. Love. I've never seen anything quite like this shade. That is what it looks like there. I don't know if you're going to be able to see like the true beauty of this, but I did actually do a showcase at college and I did play Elsa. I sang Monster from Frozen, so it's kind of like sentimental to me a little bit. I love this pressed glitter as well. You can see there's a massive dip in this. I used to put this on my nails all the time, but unfortunately, I say unfortunately like it's a bad thing, but I do get my nails professionally done now, so it's a little bit harder to put these on my nails, but but I want to try and put it on my eyes a little bit more because in this, it looks just white on camera, but it's got like blue, green, pink, and purple flips in it. It is just beautiful and I actually love it. I know I've spoken bad about pressed glitters in this video, but this one I love. I've put the duochromes are lovely, but I do need a push with this one. Yeah, I think again, a massive problem is that I just project pan so much. So if this isn't in a project pan, it's just kind of sat there. And I think that's a big problem with my whole makeup collection, not just these palettes. It's definitely something that I'm going to have to try and get over a little bit. Maybe in my Pan That Palette series next year, I'll have like a focus palette of the month. That could be a really, really good idea. I think it'll just give me a little bit of a push. So let me know, how do you think I could incorporate all of my palettes more? Because I'm definitely open for some suggestions. Okay, the next palette, we are definitely moving away from my taste now. That middle section was a bit of me. I absolutely love it. But this is the That's My Pleasure palette. Now, I did say before, I don't really like pinks, but to be fair, this palette does look a little bit beaten and bruised. I will give myself that. It's not completely neglected. And I do really like some of the shades in here, but I could not tell you the last time that I used this palette. I have no idea. So I have ranked this an amber palette. I was very, very close to ranking this as a red palette, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it because I do like it. It's just some of the shades aren't for me. If I'm gonna wear purple, I want more of a cool tone to neutral purple. The shade like Bare Minimum is, I really don't like those shades. The purples with almost like an orange hint to them, I really don't like those shades at all. And it's very similar with Fan Fiction as well. This is definitely more of a pinky purple. So those two shades I definitely don't reach for too much. But the other shades I actually really do like. The shade Pretty Cruel here has a massive dip in it. I used this 15 times in a Pan Those Eyeshadow series, and the shade Sleeper here also has a massive dip in it. So you know what, I do use this palette, clearly, because I've got two shades close to pan. The shade Mr. Sandman, what a classic. It is so stunning. My hand is going to be stained now from the Elsa palette, so please ignore that. But this is almost like a gunmetal-y purple shimmer. I do really enjoy it. It is nice. I think it is just those two super warm tone purples that are just throwing me a little bit, and that's okay. So I was gonna rate this a red, but I can't bring myself to do it. The quality is beautiful, but the shades are the opposite to my style. A few of the shades are close to pan, but I need to take note of that for future projects. Yeah. This one, especially Sleeper, I'd say I have like 5 uses left before I hit pan on it. That would be a really easy gimme pan if I wanted something like that in a Pan Those Eyeshadows, or even a project level up maybe. That would be a very, very easy pan to hit. So I'm definitely going to keep this in mind, because if I can get a pan on this, I'm definitely going to try to. I think it's a nice palette apart from those two super warm tone shades. I love the mauve and the neutral purples, but the super warm tone purples are not up my street. Mr. Sandman is such a classic and works amazing with Pretty Cruel. That was the look that I did, I think, when this was in my Pan Those Eyeshadows. I'd put Pretty Cruel all over the lid and tap it out with Mr. Sandman, and it was just a really nice kind of summery autumn look, and you could deepen it up with other shades as well. But yeah, this is an orange palette. I think it was a good idea not to rank it as a red palette because it's not bad. It's not. It's just my personal taste. I'm definitely going to have to pull this in though. I know I say that about everything, but I need to pull it into a project. Alright, this is my second to last palette now, and this is the Making Mauves palette. And I, again, have ranked this an amber palette, and you might be thinking, oh, this is so similar to the Just My Pleasure palette, but I actually like this a lot more, which is interesting. These are very muted purples, and that's what I like. I don't want to be perceived as a girly girl, and I think that's the massive mental block that I have with pinks and purples. I'm not a girly girl. I don't want to be perceived as a girly girl. My boyfriend is banned from calling me princess because it really goes through me. I don't like it. So I think that is part of the mental block. These are more boyish tones, I guess. I don't know, is that the right word for it? But they're not like pretty little princess shades. Like, they can be, but they're also more like neutral. They're just neutral. They're fine. They're not so girly, but they're not like grunge grays. I do like this. This has quite a big dip on it, the shade Marquee, which is great. And there also is this super beautiful Super Shock shadow called Mauve on Top. I've just swatched that there. Look at that shimmer. That is gorgeous. I did actually pair this palette with the Blue Moon palette, and I made a really, really nice bluey, mauvey look. That is my profile picture, actually, and I really enjoyed that. It's definitely pushed me out my comfort zone a little bit. I wanted to see if I could combine this with one of my favorite palettes, because now that I know that, I can do that more often. I think mauve and blue look really, really beautiful together. So with that in mind, hopefully I can move forward with that and make that like a staple color combo. That would be amazing. So I've put, this is a great representation of my kind of purples. Much more cool tone / neutral. However, it's never used because of the similar situation to the Orange You Glad. So I don't know if you remember, like an eternity ago when I started this video, I did say about the Orange You Glad, I either wear neutrals or colourful shades. This again is like colourful neutrals, and I don't really wear that. I'm one extreme or the other, and that is a massive reason why I think this palette is neglected. I'm either in a colourful mood or a neutral mood. I'm never really in the colourful yet kind of neutral mood. It could be really nice for work, but it does clash a lot with Bonfresco, which is in my Pan That palette right now. But again, this could be rolled in as a companion palette to really finish off Bonfresco. I think I might actually do that because, I mean, little spoiler alert here, Bonfresco is so close to being finished. And if I can finish that, that'll be good. Maybe I'll keep this out, actually. Maybe I'll keep this on my desk. I am pre-filming a little bit. Today is the 23rd, so I do have a few days, like a week, until my Pan That palette goes live. So if I can get as much use on Bonfresco as possible and really have that as a focus shade and have this as a little workhorse alongside that, that would be amazing. So I think you're staying out. Look at that. See, it's things like this I'm so glad that I don't just get rid of things, because things do come in handy, and I do love having every single colour under the sun for this exact reason. I've put, if you told me to use this palette, I would happily, but would I reach for it on my own accord? It'll be a rare occurrence. Yeah, it would be, but hopefully alongside Bonfresco for the next week or so, this will be amazing. I'm hoping, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that I can make some really nice looks with them. That's just something that popped into my head, and especially with this Super Shock, I'm really looking forward to that. And finally, my final Colourpop palette. Are you ready for this? This is the That's Taupe palette, and I know a lot of people were actually shocked to learn that I own this palette. But to be honest, these are the neutrals that I love. These more cool tone neutrals. There is this shade Pebble Beach up here, which is more of that like neutral to warm. But these are my neutrals. I love these so much. And I have in fact ranked this a green palette. I know. I do in fact wear neutrals, okay? I just maybe don't film with neutrals a hell of a lot, but this palette's stunning. I wore this. Where did I wear this? It was somewhere that I had to put like neutral eyeshadow on. I couldn't go bright, colourful. And I thought, you know what? I'll pull this out. I'll use it. And I felt amazing. I felt so pretty and put together. Not that colourful shades aren't put together, but you know what I mean? I felt businessy. I felt like, oh, I just felt so good. This palette is stunning, especially the shade Slated. Let me tell you. I've swatched it up top there. That is just, it's beautiful. It really is beautiful. This whole palette is beautiful, and I'm so glad that I have this in my No Pan Left Behind right now. It is giving me this little sense of like, oh, you do like neutrals sometimes. Sometimes. I think honestly, I could live quite happily off having a neutral palette and a blue palette. I'm good to go. So what have I said? This is my kind of neutral palette. I've had this in my drawers for years, gathering dust, but this was bumped up to one of my favorite palettes. I can't believe I'm saying that. I really can't, but this is so pretty. This is so pretty. I put the warm tones aren't leaning orange, which no, like this, as I said, this is the only real warm tone, and it is still very, very neutral. I put the cool tones are perfect for me. If I was to wear neutrals, these are the exact neutrals that I would pick. And I have also said, look out for this palette coming more into its own very soon, because I really think that this is going to be a bit of a staple. This was, I think, like 3rd place in my Pan That Palette vote of the year. But to be honest, I think this is going to be Pan That Palette next year, or yeah, a bit sooner maybe. I am very close to finishing my Modern Renaissance, so I don't know. Keep an eye out. Keep an eye out, that's all I'm saying. So there we go, that is me reviewing all my eyeshadow palettes. That is the final episode, and I tell you what, I need a Strepsil now because my voice is killing me. I have gone through a big old stack of Colourpop palettes. I'm so excited. I do love all of these, to be honest. I know I ranked a few a little bit lower than others, but they're just a little family. Look at these, they're so cute. And I do love all of them. They're all my little babies. So don't forget to let me know what your favourite Colourpop palette is. I know they release about 20 a second, but if you could just narrow it down, or maybe give me your top 5 if you're really, really struggling. Mine, of course, is the Blue Moon. I hope someone else loves the Blue Moon as well. It can't just be me. Oh, I forgot the Making Mauves in that as well. Let's pop her in as well. There you go, there she is. But this is it for this video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, you know what to do. Like and subscribe. It would mean the world to me. I'm so close to 4K, and who knows, when this video goes live, I might have hit 4K, which is insane because my goal was to hit 4K by my boyfriend's birthday, which is the 17th of June, and I'm on the 23rd of May right now, and I'm this close. So thank you so much for that. Honestly, it makes me smile so much. I'm so glad that you enjoy my content, and check back tomorrow for a brand new video. Bye bye!